Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wildcat Comics, your new favorite YouTube channel. We are going to be here today talking to some other creators and showcasing some of the projects that they got out there. But everybody's running a little late, so we're just gonna wait for them, and you're gonna have to put up with us in the meantime, talking our nonsense and give our own opinion about things. For those of you who think this is strange, I'm usually not here in the mornings, but I was kind of given some forced vacation because of the whole coronavirus situation. Apparently, someone at work was infected, and they sent everyone home. So can't complain about that. So yeah, and until further notice. So I don't even know how long I'll be at home, but it looks like I'm going to have to be working for my money somehow, some way. And if it's on the projects and these live streams and these things, I'm more than happy. How are you this morning?
Yeah, very good, baby. I'm wearing your lucky shirt today.
I see that. I see that.
I'm wearing the lucky shirt. I promised I was going to wear the lucky shirt. Hello, Pearl Rider. Welcome to the chat. Hawaii Cat, no drinks. Well, not yet.
Not yet. It's too early.
It's a little early, but we're working on that, I promise. We are here quarantined, but like extremely quarantined because John was still going to work. But yeah, I guess we're gonna have to do some drinks after and just watch some Netflix or whatever, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always something out there to do, you know. We're not ones to lock ourselves at home anyway, so yeah, like I said, you know, kind of forced vacation, can't complain. It's what it is. And yeah, we'll have some really cool guests today. We'll see if they actually show up.
I think they will.
they will show up, I'm sure. But everybody's running a little late. It's a little crazy morning. Lots of activity, and yeah.
Yeah, welcome back to Digital Art. Hello, welcome. We have a very interesting project. Oh, Alasmat. Hola, Alasmat. Welcome, fellow Colombiano. We have a very interesting project we're going to launch this Friday, which is CG in Spanish.
Yes.
Which is basically opening the gates of Comics Gate to Hispanic people. So yeah, we all can sell more books and the community can grow even more. So that's going to be super interesting. Baby, I think we should probably do a stream to tell everybody in English, of course, to tell everybody what is this whole thing about. Right, to notify.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the main basic idea that we see is that we hail to Sol Leon, by the way, in the chat.
Mr. Officer, welcome to the chat, and I saved the sketch card from Sim for you, so don't worry, everything is good. Thank you for your support and for always being here. We love you.
Absolutely. Thank you for always being here. Thank you for always tuning in. What I was saying is that the main idea behind this thing is we've noticed that you know, there's the market for comics doesn't just stop in the English-speaking world. You know, comics are pretty much popular everywhere in the world, and the things that are happening with Marvel and with DC, the big two, and other companies that are kind of following suit, are happening everywhere else. You know, it's not just an exclusive phenomenon of here, of the United States or the English-speaking world. You see what is happening to comics, what they're doing to comics, and it's happening everywhere. So people are fed up with it left and right, and there is big demand for it, and there is kind of this hunger for content, for good content everywhere. You know, for example, the Grim Reaper 1, and we will do the same thing with the Grim Reaper 2 when it's completely fully finished, has actually become kind of popular in Japan. We actually received our first payment today from a publisher in Japan that has been publishing the Grim Reaper 1, and it's actually extremely popular.
In Japanese, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, in Japanese. In Japanese, he translated it for us. I went to Japan once, and yeah, the language is just pretty much impossible for me to learn at this point in my life. But so yeah, so he, you know, they translated it and they're selling it for us, and yeah, it's doing great in Japan. And we both speak Spanish, so we figured that we're gonna translate our own books. So the idea behind Comics Getting in Spanish, Comics Getting en Español, is that we can translate books, of course, that people, for people who want to reach a broader audience, a bigger market, and expand. And that's the idea behind it. So we're gonna be promoting Comicsgate in Spanish, and we're gonna be showcasing books from our fellow Comicsgaters who speak Spanish, and we are offering to translate books from creators who are already established in English and cannot speak Spanish, just so that they can reach a bigger market.
That's it. It's not only like for Spanish speakers. It's
Yeah.
for everybody so everybody can like have more backers and more readers and more fans. Language barrier is something that is very easy for us to, in this case, because we speak Spanish. So yeah, I think we can contribute that way to Comicsgate. So I think it's a really cool idea. Hello, Dandy Spike. Welcome to the chat.
Welcome to the chat.
So nice to see you here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the idea behind it. I mean, we, Comicsgate is growing without a doubt, and we see that growth ourselves with our project, right?
Yes.
We've seen how much the Grim Reaper has grown up in numbers and in funding, and especially, and this is more important, in the number of people who are interested in reading the book, right? So in the number of backers. So yeah, believe me, there is just as much interest from people in Latin America, especially Mexico, especially Spain, who want to read comics, but they haven't really gotten a chance to get into Comicsgate yet because the English barrier.
I really like this comment from Mr. Officer, bringing real diversity and bringing people together. Yes, this is real diversity, okay? This is not superficial crap, We're very used to that. And Baghdad Digital Art is saying, I'm doing the same, but in Italian with my comic. That sounds great. That sounds great. Yeah.
And I mean, if we spoke more languages, we could do live streams in whatever language, but right now we're only kind of sticking with Spanish because we know it's probably going to be the second biggest market, right? So we're going to, our first video is going to have to be kind of explaining Comicsgate, kind of explaining what the concept is about and what kind of wonderful books they can find in this wonderful catalog, and kind of giving people an introduction.
Yes, and guys, let me introduce you. The guest we have today is the one and only Adam Post. Welcome, Adam.
Welcome, Adam.
It is me, the sexy, the talented, the always interesting Adam Post.
Sorry, I forgot.
Needs no
Carla.
introduction.
No, I introduced myself excessively, so people kind of average it down, and then it's kind of equalish. Great to see you guys. Great to spend time with you. Yeah, me and Carlo are just kind of working out of time. Like, let's just get into this and get it going. Let's party going. So congratulations on your success, guys. I keep talking about you guys as like the perfect example of like the spirit of Comicsgate, like just the hard work, the passionate project. You deliver on the Grim Reaper. You didn't do gigantic numbers, but that doesn't matter. It's not about the numbers. It's about the comics. You guys even had a personal tragedy. You deliver on your book, and now you're back. How big is your current campaign? If you don't mind, I know this is supposed to be we'll talk about College of the Dead for sure, but how big is the current campaign? Because it's at least double, isn't it, what you did last time?
It's yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, likewise, congratulations on your success.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're very impressed, and we are very happy to see how much you've grown as well, because we can see some growth in College of the Dead as well, right?
College of the Dead, I've been so fortunate that people give it a chance, and then I got to keep my promise, and then we delivered. So you guys are at 37, 39. Are you in demand as well?
Yes, we're in demand.
Cool.
And like you said, not gigantic numbers, but what I like the most is not this number right here, but this one right here.
The backer.
This is the thing that really got me hyped up, because if you look at our first campaign, we stopped somewhere like halfway to what this number is.
Yeah, it's just it's amazing to do 100% more. In fact, I was talking with a friend of mine last night about College of the Dead, and he was looking at the numbers. He's like, "Well, I mean, you're around 17,000, 30 days in. We just extended." And he's like, "But how do you, is that worth your time? Because I'm a very fancy person. You know, is that worth your time? And then like, well, you know, it's not $100,000. I'm like, well, it's a huge increase. And that's the people have to understand. You guys have been in your own small business before, or is this your first publishing, like your first business?
This will be your first time, but
Mhm.
I've been a small business owner before, and I know how hard it is to pull it off. In fact, I think
Yes, it's just getting it going. It's not, you know, you get a business going. Most people go out of business when they're in small business. They don't have customers waiting for them.
Mhm.
You know, I've been in business. No one's going to hire me. You know, I've been in business for myself my whole life. And Comicsgate's an opportunity for people to start their own small business.
Yes.
And so you know how difficult it is sometimes to get things going and to kind of make it work. And then you guys even had that fire happen in the middle of it. It's like, no, we're going to
Yeah.
still ship our books, and we're going to have the sequel, and it's going to do, you know, 100% more. You know, like the percentages matter. It really does. Ethan Van Sciver is having a lot of success with Wrecked Planet, his new Cyberfrog book, and I'm sure it's going to continue to grow. But at the same point, like, you know, doing 100% more business than before in backers, you know, and having satisfied customers, that's what it's about running a small business.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's about the growth, and like you said, you know, dealing with those kind of personal tragedies, you just gonna have to go with the flow, right? Life will throw you curveballs, and you have to be able to deal with them, right?
You
And
guys keep your promises. I mean, to me, that's the main thing is you keep your promises and you deliver good work, and, you know, everyone gets excited about it. And then every customer, we're direct to consumer. So every customer is an influencer in the way that they can let other people know, you
absolutely.
know. And so that's where it's growing. I'm sure you had people talk about Grim Reaper too. I was a business guy, a self-publishing guy, because I published my first comic book as a teenager. I'm excited to see a small business succeed and to see your guys' attitude and the quality. So it's a different. I'm looking at it. You know, I want to do maybe I have to do some videos about this because you guys really got me thinking. Like, why is it that I like you guys so much, the White Cat guys? It's just because of your attitude and your appreciation for all of the success you've had, and,
Thank
and
you.
all
Yeah.
earned.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're very thankful with the community we have. We always have a very active chat here on this channel, and then everyone is saying hello, Adam.
Hey, Bogdan.
The Postman by Oli565.
Always deliver.
Then some Spanish here. Hola, señor Post.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
That was good.
All right, we have the pandemic, but where are the zombies? Are they chewing on sexy cheerleaders in College of the Dead #2?
They are indeed. They're making lunch out of them. Yeah.
Now
I had to have a sexy cover for College of the Dead too. I had to have something sexy going on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's talk about this wonderful book. First of all, congratulations. This looks amazing.
Thanks, man.
I know the concept of the first one was really great, but the artwork here also speaks for itself. Wonderful art, wonderful storytelling. Why don't you tell us what College of the Dead is about?
So College of the Dead, yeah, it's a zombie apocalypse story. College of the Dead Graduation Day is the sequel to the first book, College of the Dead. It can be read separately. You can still find out what's going on and enjoy it even without having both, but you have an opportunity to get the first one too. It's the story of college students and a couple of their professors kind of thrown together when they're on campus when a zombie outbreak takes over the campus. And it's an ongoing series. We're going to do a new 48-page full color book every 6 months now. We're already working on College of the Dead Spring Break, which is College of the Dead Book 3. This book is completely done, colored, lettered. We're just getting the final design files ready now so we can get the test prints done for it. So it'll be shipping in June 2020. But the story of College of the Dead Graduation Day it's a very interesting take because we get to see, all right, so it does a quick flashback before the zombie apocalypse took place, and it's focused on a character named Brendan. Brendan is at a party, drinking. He meets a beautiful girl, doesn't even know her name. They start hooking up like under a tree and having a good time. And then all of a sudden, she starts to feel a little uncomfortable. She runs off. And then Brendan goes and runs after her to go talk to her. And he runs into the zombie apocalypse, and that was his first experience with the zombie apocalypse. The two of them get separated, and he goes off through the rest of the story trying to find her, trying to save her, and trying to kind of understand who even he is, because things kind of went wrong between the two of them, and he didn't know what was going on when that happened, and she was also kind of confused about what that happened. So it's kind of a story about identity. It's a story about kind of figuring out who you are, trying to make things right, and being a hero, even if you're not perfect.
No, absolutely. I think there's no better lesson, right, that you can learn than in a situation like an extreme situation like this, right?
When in doubt, be a hero. When in doubt, be a hero.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I'm a big fan of George Romero's work. I love zombies. I love zombies. But one of the things that he did in Dawn of the Dead, I believe, is like you get to see these people being confined in a really small space, right, and having to survive in that little space, right, which is the mall. So I really dig the concept of making a horror story, if you will, in a really small space. Like you become so acquainted with that space that you can almost memorize where everything is. Is that
a physically small space?
Right, exactly. Is that kind of the same case here? Are they in the same culture? Do we see the perspective of the apocalypse happening everywhere in town?
Well, we don't. We don't see the whole town. We don't see the world. We get kind of hints about maybe what might be going on in the world, but we really don't know what's going on in the world. All we know is, it's kind of like that actually has happened to us now with what's going on outside our doors is who knows what's going on? I mean, you see, some news updates. It shows you like, all right, well, the cities are abandoned. But we don't see that in College of the Dead. We see that on our TV screens. But yeah, they're on campus, and they're dealing with things on campus. That became their small world to like their whole world is really campus. Travel is shut down. They can't just like hop on a train somewhere and go someplace. They can't easily walk off campus. Even going from building to building is a life or death situation for them. And we see them start to going to get food and supplies now because some time has passed between the first book and the second book, but really it's hours. It's not a lot of time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love me a good zombie story like everyone else. But
I love you too.
But see,
I love you too.
But see,
everybody loves this guy.
Here's the thing, like nowadays, like you said, you go and you see empty streets, empty shelves in the stores and things like that, right? So but when I was a kid, like the apocalypse, especially like a zombie apocalypse, had this this attractiveness that you were like, oh man, I wish this shit happens for reals. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know.
But
did you ever see the comic X Mutants from the 1990s? EX-Mutants.
I haven't seen that.
Google it sometime. It was published by my friend Scott Rosenberg, and I'll just tell you real quickly because it's an aside. Yeah. But it had really cool charm to it. It was the late 1980s he published it? Yeah, or late 1980s. It was published by what became Malibu Comics eventually, Eternity Comics or something like that. And what the story was it was after an apocalypse, and the characters, there were some superpowered mutants, and then I guess they were trying to turn themselves to be regular people again or something like that. But it's kind of like the X-Men if they were trying to not be mutants after an apocalypse. So yeah, I love that landscape too, where the whole world it's ended, but there's still people around, but you have like the remnants of the old society laying around, just like that zombie apocalypse movie. I keep forgetting if it was Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead by Romero. I mixed the two of them up. They're pretty similar in title, but the whole idea of being able to be in a mall and it's like an empty mall.
Of course.
I don't know. It's just really appealing for some reason. I don't know why.
It's haunting and appealing, but the whole concept with the apocalypse, like, I don't know, why do you think that so many of us deep inside kind of want the system to come down in one way, there is this inconformity with the world or I don't know, it just looks cool. What do you think? What are your thoughts on everybody who kind of wishes for something like this to happen?
Well, it's something. It's sort of like just seeing things kind of in a different context. I think it's also related to power fantasies and things like that. You know,
Right.
sometimes you wish you could fly
Yeah.
because, like, what would that be like? You know, it would be interesting. When we go to the mall, when we go to make a purchase for something, a lot of times people don't buy things only based on necessity. You know,
Sure.
they're buying things for identity, especially like name brands. You know, how do you feel when you have like you know, $1,000 handbag or you know a $10,000 watch? How does that make you feel? And being able to, especially if it's something like purchasing, being able to buy or take or get whatever you want and just have access to the world of everything, you know, it gives you kind of a position of power and a position of wealth. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm
It's
sure.
kind of funny because like right now we probably could go over to the mall. We'd be like, if we
Right.
could get in, we'd be like the only people in there. And it's also a bizarre snapshot in time.
Of course. And at the same time, I feel like we repress so much of our natural basic instincts. Men are aggressive by nature, but we are we living in a society, you kind of have to put that aside and become more civil, right? And a lot of those things get tossed aside, but then these will be the perfect outlet for us to kind of let our wildest selves out, right?
Yeah, you're killing zombies. You're not killing people.
Right, exactly. So you dehumanize the enemy. It's your violence is perfectly justified. Will we see that kind of character arc on the protagonist, on Brandon, or the rest of the character crew with the zombie apocalypse?
Well, I think it's interesting to ask, and I think that you see the different characters develop in different ways.
Mhm.
One of the things I was like, it was really interesting about College of the Dead book one was as we were introduced to the cast of characters, there were characters early on who got stuck in an elevator, and
Yeah.
then when they went in as regular students, like going into an elevator to go somewhere in a building, and then the elevator got stuck, and that was during the apocalypse taking place. And they kind of had to figure out how the hell they're going to get out of this elevator.
Yeah.
They started working on getting out of the elevator. When that elevator stopped, that was the end of their world. You know, the new world began when the elevator stopped. And two of the characters actually die in the elevator. One of them was weak, and she kind of couldn't make it. She couldn't struggle on through what the situation was. And one of our characters had to give up on her. Otherwise, she threatened the whole group. And that's kind of like typical zombie stuff. But the other character who died, she seemed like a really cool character. She's a former Marine, and Marie Cano. And I was shocked because I developed this and then wrote it with the writer. But when I work with people, I do as much as is needed. And if there isn't much for me to do, then sometimes like stuff is going to start getting done when I like don't even like I'm surprised by what happens in the story. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, I was surprised reading it. Like, wow, so we're going to kill this really cool character who's really strong. I mean, she was strong. She's a former Marine, but she died just the same. And it's not indiscriminate killing, but yeah, you really get to start to understand the threat in this new world that there'll be characters that die thrown in situations. You're not just having like Superman run around who is never killed, or if he's killed he automatically comes back and he's completely fine. But as far as seeing the characters develop, the characterization, the human side and all their individual arcs, you see who these people are and where they've been from, where they came from, how they dealt with the situation. And we haven't seen anybody yet go inappropriately berserk aggressively, but you will start to see some mental breakdowns in Graduation Day in the sequel, and I think it's handled really well. I think it's very appropriate, and it's interesting and scary. So yeah, you really get to see real people dealing with the situation. It's very good. It's what it should be.
You know, one of the things that I think The Walking Dead suffered from the most was kind of like there were too many characters thrown in there, and at first you got to care for them, but they kept introducing more and more new characters, and so it kind of become a little bit uninteresting. And I'm talking about the TV show, not so much the comics. But how do you keep it? How do you manage like?
Yeah,
So,
I mean the thing that there's two aspects of The Walking Dead
Mhm.
that I'm really I got very uncomfortable with,
Mhm.
and the two aspects, and I'm talking also about the TV show. In the Walking Dead comic, for me, the problem I have with the Walking Dead comic, well, too much dialogue is just like these endless speeches from these characters,
Mhm.
but the rest of it carried over to the TV. So for the TV, I didn't like the perpetual hopelessness of the situation.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a friend of mine that was doing a live stream, and he was analyzing it, and he said, coincidentally, he said the opposite. He likes how they showed that they were actually it's Deadwood Dale, who has a great channel. People should definitely subscribe to Deadwood Dale. But he was talking about a scene from The Walking Dead that he really liked, where at the end it just kind of showed that no matter what, you're always screwed in a zombie apocalypse. I don't like that because I that sense of hopelessness
Mhm.
is not that's not our condition as human beings. As human
Absolutely.
beings, we will always survive. Not all of us. And that is something that I made clear to Stefan Petrucco, who's writing and developing College of the Dead with me, book to book. He's on book 3. He'll be on it for as long as he and I both shall live. He's a fantastic writer, but I don't like that sense of a hopelessness. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, there's always challenge and there's always death. I look at a zombie apocalypse as a war zone type of situation.
Mhm.
And there are human beings that are surviving a war zone. And, sometimes eventually, sure, civilians die, but the last civilian doesn't die. The last civilian is the one who remakes the society. So I don't agree with hopelessness. I think there are too many miracles that we see, in war, in life, in humanity, to turn our backs on those miracles and try to tell a story of like, look, no matter what, we're always screwed. That's not the case at all. No matter what, it's the opposite. Or who'd be reading the damn comic or watching the damn movie? There's no situation where we're always screwed. So that's the first part of Walking Dead I didn't like. And the way they really accentuated that was when they were humiliating their characters when they introduced Negan.
Yes.
That was just like, listen, people are just watching escapist entertainment. They don't
Mhm.
want to see like Norman Reedus being beaten to a shit pulp, and that all of them being destroyed and humiliated, because people relate to the characters. So who wants to see yourself essentially be humiliated and destroyed constantly? Robert Kirkman does. But yeah, that's that. I mean, maybe that wasn't his choice, and it was something with the producers. But I thought it was terrible, and I couldn't keep watching it.
Absolutely. I have
Yeah,
a question here from the chat for you, and
yeah. There you go. David's right.
is College of the Dead a zombie story that takes itself seriously, or is it campy like Return of the Living Dead?
Excellent question. David had a comment up before. I think you had it too. That people celebrate parties even under circumstances of war. Humans
Mhm.
seek hope by nature. David agreed completely, and I'm sure you agree with me because it's sort of what I was saying. And we make that hope happen. So even with Comicsgate, the industry's falling apart as it's being destroyed. We have the greatest creative group of people making the most passionate creations ever, putting life and breathing life into the format of the industry.
Yep.
Adam from Arch City Comics correctly says that Adam Post took his red curtains down and caused this virus problem in the world right now with
That's
thousands of deaths on my hand. That is probably correct. With respect to what the other guy was saying about what the heck was he saying? But he was asking if it was it's serious in tone.
Mhm.
There's a sense of humor, and people will make a joke between each other, but it's not goofy. And we're not joking around about the zombies
Absolutely. We have
whatsoever.
Peter Chern here who tells us that zombies are the best shooting target practice ever. And along
They
those
are.
lines, I wanted to ask you, do these zombies
Oh,
run?
there's one thing I have to add in just so I get to throw the rest of my criticism of the Walking Dead TV show on.
Okay.
The forced diversity stuff, and like we must make this character gay, and this character needs an operation to change their sexual identity, like whatever they're doing with that stuff. And they've got to have only strong, weird-looking, female characters, and just that is horrific in storytelling. You destroy the story when you force those kinds of things. They had was watching some of the Walking Dead. They had some death character, like they would not survive.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot take care of the weak, except in small situations. Somehow you're taking care of the children, but you can't have characters with disabilities running around in a zombie apocalypse. Thank God that our society is strong enough that we can care for people with disabilities. But there are all sorts of people that are also completely dependent on medications and things like that. They're fucking dead. Excuse the language, but they are dead, in a situation like that. I mean, you want to be kind and take care of people, but you can't throw this garbage into entertainment, whether it's self-destructive things like destroying all the characters and making them humiliated, or this ridiculousness with social justice, inclusion, but it doesn't make any sense. It's not enjoyable. It's not interesting. So sorry for that. My curtains will be back. They're not dead. They're just
absolutely. Now, what makes these zombies scary? Are these ones in particular? Are they walkers? Are they runners? What do they do? How do they creep up on you?
They're slow.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like the 28 Days zombies. They are slow. They're going to just zombie towards you, and it's similar to what we see in The Walking Dead. It's going to be that type of thing, and we don't like to create a lot of mystery about can the zombies fly, or can this person do voodoo and control the zombies or anything like that. There are no superheroes in the zombie world, or mermaids, or rabbits who can shoot guns. Some of my other ideas. We do have rabbits that can shoot guns, but not in their experience.
Not in the
No.
Wonderful. And so yeah, man, back College of the Dead, if you haven't done so already. This art looks beautiful, and I'm very happy that you're going for color this time. What made you decide to
yeah, you know what really made me start doing color was pretty much everybody else except for Mike Murphy with Samurai and Dinosaurs had color books, and I think that we really expect comics to be color, and Walking Dead was black and white, and that's fine. No Left 4 Dead. This is true. Has he got a Pokemon hat on? A Pikachu hat. I just wanted to see if we could do a color comic. I really wanted to see it. I had even thought about it a bit for College of the Dead Book 1 when I was first doing College of the Dead Book 1, but I didn't really know what people were going to expect, and I really had most of it already done by the time I was starting to promote it, so I kind of wanted to do that. Walking Dead kept killing black characters. That was weird. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's like, stop it. Just tell stories about people. We can all relate because we're people. We can relate to even stories about old people and children, because some of us, we actually have had grandparents before. We have little brothers or sisters, and our brother has a couple of toddlers or whatever it is. You can tell stories about human characters in human situations without trying to force everything into it. They've destroyed so much of entertainment that way, and we're replacing all of them.
Absolutely. And we have the other Adam, Arch City Comics, saying, I don't think that's forced, Adam. Beautiful people will die first.
He and I have a battle going online. So I go into all the shows that he's on. He's on the shows that I'm on, and eventually we will stab each other to death, probably.
All right. Well, we will.
No. There will be no killing.
Yeah. All right.
Pillow fight. We will have a pillow fight.
That's more like it.
For the soul of Comicsgate. Pillow fight for the soul of Comicsgate.
Absolutely. So after graduation day, then we will have spring break, right?
College Dead spring break, and that's telling another slight flashback for a few pages to let people know where Haley was, the beautiful blonde character running around with Brendan in some of this book, and where was the wild and irresponsible Haley before the College of the Dead apocalypse started taking place. So we get to kind of see where was she and what was she up to prior to this. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a really well told story, and kind of give you a little more perspective of the world, and also where the characters are coming from, and where they're going in the future. But I really, this is the best. I've published 1,000 comics. I say that in my Secrets of the Comicsgate videos. But it's true. I've published a lot of comic books, but the characterization, the intense carefulness with how we make these characters be real people. I've never really done anything like it before. So, and I'm really happy to do it. Really, Comicsgate encourages you as a creator to really, really take your time and make your work exceptional. Make it the best it can possibly be. And it's worth it. I'm sure you guys are offering Grim Reaper 1 when you're offering Grim Reaper 2.
Yes, we are.
Right. So then you'll be offering Grim Reaper 1 and 2 when you're offering Grim Reaper 3. Hopefully you want to think in terms of that, and people they'll always be interested. They'll always be curious about it. The guys who have the biggest advantage in the future for the sequels are guys like our creative teams, us, who, there's so many people that are buying the prequel for College of the Dead book 1 that are buying College of the Dead book 2 that are just like, oh yeah, I didn't get to see this the first time. Yeah, because we only did, like a little bit more than, no, I think we had exactly 100 backers when the campaign closed the first time around. And then we added another 100 backers over time with College of the Dead book 1. Yeah. But so many backers didn't get the first book. So it's not just, and it's great to sell extra copies. We have a couple of variant covers. Some people buy variant covers of College of the Dead. Well, it's good to see El Guapo again. I haven't seen him around too much. Hola, El Guapo. ¿Cómo estás? The sexy, for anybody that doesn't speak the language. Yeah, very sexy. But it's great to sell extra copies and extra books to one person. But it's really cool to get to more readers, that they really get to understand what we're doing, get to see what we're doing, so that we can introduce them to ourselves and our ideas and the series. So we've got like 280 backers so far on College of the Dead graduation day, which is, in less than, what do we do, in like 30 days, you have 280 backers. In the first campaign, it took 8.5 months to get something like 230. So that's tremendous growth. And growth, from your own small business, growth doesn't continue that way, where let's say you guys are automatically going to do 100%, of course, of your next campaign, right? It doesn't always happen that way. It slows down, but it does continue to build. And as long as you retain people, you can always build, you can build it up bigger.
Absolutely. You were talking about offering, previous books into a different campaign.
Sure.
Will a hardcover book be in the horizon for College of the Dead one day?
Hardcover is it's possible. Maybe after book 3, we would collect all 3 of them into a hardcover. We don't have it scheduled yet, but we started the flats to color College of the Dead book 1, since everything's going to be in color. And I've had some requests for College of the Dead book 2 in color. So I may do a collection of College of the Dead book 1 and 2 black and white, but I have a lot of other projects that I'm doing for us. For College of the Dead, my hope would be keep delivering, top quality stuff. Make sure people really feel the same way about the writing and the art that I do, which I just think it's exceptional, and the writing's even better.
Absolutely.
For book 2 than book 1, and then keep them coming out 2 per year. And if we do well enough, then I can hopefully get our creative team to do a little bit more frequency than twice a year. I'd love to do 3 or even 4 times a year. There's so many stories to be told with it. But but if it grows, like look at Graveyard Shift from John Malin. His first book was about $100,000 with heavy promotion from Ethan Van Sciver. And of course, John Malin's a very successful artist previously. There's a lot of drama from Comicsgate, a lot of eyes on his work. But then for Graveyard Shift 2, he did 174,000 or something like that, which was fantastic. And then he went and did his alternate cover as a second chance for the campaign, and did another $70,000 in the campaign. I think for a well-told story, if we get our books out consistently and we promote ourselves, the potential is absolutely there for doing $100,000 per campaign for every new release for College of the Dead, but also for everybody that wants to do the 48-page full color format. I think there's definitely 1,000 backers out there that want to help get a book out.
Absolutely. Will there be any sexy pinups?
The sexiness is mostly on the cover.
All right.
If you pick the torch cover or you pick the arm and a leg cover, that's most of the sexiness. And it's there's 6 panel pages, and it's a straight storytelling format. It's almost like a storyboard format. And that's kind of how it started. And I was thinking about maybe changing that for College of the Dead 3. But one of my friends in comics looked at it and they were like, you know what? The story is so good in College of the Dead 2. There's something magical about your 6 panel format. You better just keep it. And I was like, well, all right. That's a good point. I think I will just keep it. So I really thought about it deeply, but I'm like, you know what? 6 panels per page is how we tell the story of College of the Dead.
Absolutely.
And it's going to stay that
now,
way.
Is the arm and the leg kind of like a little jab at the school system or how much it costs?
Yeah, it's just really clever. It just happened to be clever, and it happened to come up like where college costs you an arm and a leg.
Absolutely.
So it's costing her an arm and a leg in more ways than one. Not in the way she expected.
Yeah, right. And that is very, very smart. Now, we always like to kind of show the trailers of.
Oh, sure. Do you have the audio set up?
But yeah, we're gonna have to share the audio real quick.
Okay.
No.
I know how that is. You got to click the button and check the tab, and yeah.
Absolutely.
StreamYard, but it works great. StreamYard, can't complain about StreamYard.
So let's watch this masterpiece, and everybody sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, the amazing trailer is by Ted Zagaro. You can find him on Twitter. He charges a flat fee of $250 to make a trailer, and he told me it's okay to let people know that. And I just want to see more people, have a cinematic, really cool trailer if it's workable in their budget. I definitely think it's contributed to the success of the campaign.
Very, very well put together. Splendopia says sexy.
Rob. Good to see you, Rob.
Absolutely, absolutely.
He's talking about me or the trailer? Probably me.
Probably you, my friend.
Probably me and El Guapo mucho.
Yeah, no, man, I love this concept. We kind of got to see without spoilers. I know I can talk too much spoilers sometimes, but
sure.
Without giving too much away, we kind of got to see in the first book who kind of was responsible for this whole thing, right? And where it originated from. Will we kind of see more from those characters, that character in particular I'm thinking about, or is she not in this one?
Yeah, we're going to see the whole story kind of will move forward. Like there's a lot of characters to manage. I like, because I'm working with this writer who's very experienced, he can juggle, multiple characters like this, which to me would be like, over my head to figure out how to do that. But yeah, we're going to see more. We're going to see kind of more of everything. You really are. I wasn't going to do this, and maybe I changed my mind at the last minute because we're finalizing this month is when we finish the script and start the art for College of the Dead Book 3 Spring Break. We're talking about hinting at the cause of the apocalypse, which is the zombie apocalypse, which is not something that we were going to do, but it just is very appropriate for the story. So yeah, there's kind of going to be like kind of more of everything, just moving forward, but also adding more background to what exists already. But not going to be it's not going to be endless hopelessness. And there's not going to be forced inclusions of different, whatever characters make sense are going in there.
Yeah, and there is sexy chicks. What else could you ask for? The Walking Dead never gave you that, and Adam Post is.
How could they not? Yeah, how could they not do that? What a waste!
What a waste! What a waste! Yeah. And
What
they
a
didn't have
waste.
talent for it, but they decided to go a different route. And I love zombies. I don't think there is a lot of people who claim that there is a lot of zombie fatigue. What would you say about that?
Yeah, someone else brought that up. I think it was Adam Friend who brought it up. I'm like, there's no fatigue for a good story, so just tell a good story.
Right.
And I was talking to someone else too about like, well, do you have other projects you're going to do? Like, why not just do like a superhero project? Like, well, I do have other projects I'm going to do, but like the writer for College of the Dead is available. He did a great job, and I've met a lot of people focusing on it. And of course, I'm going to focus on doing more College of the Dead. It's been successful, so
of course, I totally understand.
Yeah, you find people think that it's successful. Of course, you want to do more of whatever's working. But yeah, I don't think there's any with like zombie fatigue, for example, too. Like they stopped making Walking Dead, so like who is doing new stories like this? I don't even. Maybe somebody is, but nothing has stood out to me as like I would even notice it.
Absolutely. I don't think the zombies will go out of fashion. And like you say, the zombies are just a vehicle to tell a good story. They're just the setting, the perfect setting for you to include these characters, and so that we get to learn more about them.
I mean, you can't tell superhero stories in a zombie world unless you start screwing around with the world and stuff like that, which I don't have any intention to do that. But I do have other series and things coming up. I have a book called The Mermaids, which is a Game of Thrones with mermaids. It's a totally different world, all female mermaids. The book's completely done, and we're just finalizing the trailer for it now. But the same guy that made the trailer for College of the Dead, it's going to be a gorgeous trailer. But the book is a great book. It's a very cool other separate world. And with Professor Geek, I'm working on G.I. Jackrabbits. And we're just finalizing the last pages of script and the character designs. So that art is going to start. We're hoping to start sequential art next week for that. And as far as I'm concerned, we finish either the whole book or almost the whole book before the book gets offered. And that way it's so much easier because all you're focusing on is promotion and enjoying the Comicsgate people and winning battles as needed in Comicsgate. So and I do have a superhero character, a female character that's very, very early stages. I haven't selected the writer that I want to collaborate with that on just yet. And some other materials. So as far as I'm concerned, as long as we could the focus is a really cool idea and a good creative team that wants to commit to doing the project. And then at that point, you should be doing 2 books a year, really at a minimum, to maintain the interest from your audience and also to build up whatever the idea is. And so I'm going to continue to do that absolutely as much as possible. I'm working on these 3 different lines right now. Zombies with College of the Dead, mermaids, fantasy, and the G.I. Jackrabbits, which is this high energy, almost Cyber Frog world type of stuff. So as long as my creative team are happy and as long as the Comicsgate people like the books, do more of the same.
So we have a comment from Soul Leon says zombies in video games are great for projecting your individual for certain types of people of Walmart and pretending that it is not real people you want to see dismember. Kind of along the lines of what you were saying earlier about the human.
It's fantasy. Totally. It's fantasy. It really is all fantasy and fun. And but the important thing is that you tell a good story that you can relate to the characters and understand them, and learn some lessons in there. Hopefully, if it's really well written, the stories are so incredibly powerful. And Comicsgate, there are good writers in, and I'm just trying to make sure any of the other Comicsgate projects that I get involved with, it can have very strong visual elements, but the story has to be phenomenal. It's got to be really, really, really well done.
Yeah,
So,
and along the lines of what they asked you later, if you will do something else. Yesterday too, I wanted to tell this story. That yesterday too, in an interview, I was asked if why was I so obsessed with death, and I said, to be honest with you, it's not. We both have all these projects, right? We all have all these things, and we kind of went, which one is best? Which one is the best right now for us to put out there and kind of get a name for ourselves to get started, right? And so we decided to pick the Grim Reaper, right? We decided to pick the Grim Reaper because at the time it seemed to me like it was the best story we had, right? And so that's what we went for. And I think I don't regret it. Do you regret picking the Grim Reaper at all as
Not at all.
as our first? I was our cherry popping first because
It's my baby.
yeah, it is without a doubt. The project that we wanted to get started off with.
yeah, it's so important. Like, and I'm learning more of this myself because Ethan teases me about this sometimes. Or not really teases me. He's just he knows how to help people. He's willing to help everyone, but he can't do it for you. So what he'll like for me, his personal advice for me, personal, like he said it on live streams, like I just need to focus on make sure you're talking about your book and your story and not just the industry sometimes. Just make sure people know College of the Dead and tell us what the story is of College of the Dead and how excited you are about the world of College of the Dead. And that's been a small weakness of mine. But that's just like probably my only weakness in terms of everything else altogether. But we all have these things like to make our presentation stronger and to make people more aware of what it is that we're passionate about, what we're doing. It's very important. And like Carla, when you're saying that is the coolest image. I think that's your coolest image, by the way. I think that image should be everywhere. Like even like your
the cover, maybe.
Do you change you can do this too. You can change your Indiegogo image, like the overlay image. So I changed from my from the zombie graduation picture to the girl who's getting eaten up by zombies with the orange top. When people are screening through Indiegogo, so they see that image. I think that's my strongest image. And I think it's also good to freshen them up, especially if you're in demand, like if the campaign's been out for a while. So it's good to like look at what are the images are people seeing, because anybody who's looked at an image and they haven't bought the book yet, if they see the same image again, after a while, after like maybe 5 or 10 impressions, are they going to then go on the 11th impression and probably buy it? Like rather than do you have something else striking to share it and to show? But for you guys to be able to passionately say, this is my baby, I love this project, here's why, and people get to share in that emotion, that feeling that we have for our project, that's the right project. That's the project to push, and also something that does feel like something commercial. I don't know. I mean, what's funny is people at College of the Dead, like it is almost at 17,000 after 30 days. Like Deathsworn did 17,000 after its first 60 days, I think it was. And I think Carl's fantastic and his art's fantastic. He's wrong often, but he and I fight back and forth about some things. No, I'm mostly joking about that. But still, like, John Malin is fantastic. I'm not expecting to sell as many copies of what I'm doing as John Malin or Ethan right away.
Right.
Even though I'm a little older than both of those guys, it's like you've got to find your own audience. It depends on the size of your platform. If you guys had a platform that was 10 times bigger, if your YouTube channel was 10 times bigger, you'd probably have sold 10 times the amount. Literally, it's just that directly related. So if Ethan is doing almost $500,000 on Cyberfrog Wreck Planet right now, and that is 25 times what I'm doing, or even a little bit more. But let's just say for round numbers, if he's doing 30 times what I'm doing on College of the Dead, and his YouTube audience is 100 times the size, it's not a bad ratio. It's fine. It's quite appropriate. So
we couldn't say enough. We're very thankful with all the community, and we definitely are proud of the growth that not only ourselves but all of you guys are having, because everybody wins.
Yeah, and what's one of the biggest things to be able to be past successfuls to be a great example, right? And you know, if we can be successful, that's fantastic, whatever our definition of successful is. But the second thing is, can we set a good example for other people and inspire other people and tell them when things are working or not working? Because how should they look at it? People should be looking at what I'm doing, and I don't know what else to tell them. Some people they think it's very successful. Other people, they have immediate higher aspirations for what I'm doing. Like, oh, this book should be doing, you know, more. It's like, look, if I'm anywhere in the universe of you know, Death Sworn, Super Harem, those kinds of color, smaller books, that's fantastic. But it's important to be able to set that example for people so that they're inspired and they realize like what their success is going to look like early on, particularly if they don't start with a big platform. But if you start with a bigger platform, then yeah, your numbers are even bigger.
Yeah, yeah, we kind of figure we'll grow along the way and just hit the launch button and see what happens. And yeah, definitely good advice for everybody who's trying to start out is build a good audience first, and for sure you will start with a strong.
Yeah, you know, a good way to start is the pre-launch page.
Yes.
You know, I was on with Sweetcast, Clint, and we were talking about the pre-launch page. His number was 300. Make sure you have 300 people signed up.
Yes.
A real minimum is 100. You got to be able to hustle 100 people to want to look at your project. That to me is the absolute smallest. Now, Sweetcast did 33,000 on his last book, Downcast. So if you want to do 33,000 and you've got 300 people who've signed up,